It was a daycare, and I was playing with the blocks, and my daycare provider was calling me for lunch, and I had my back to her, but I didn't turn around when she was calling my name. She said it about 4 or 5 times, and I didn't do anything. They took me to Children's Hospital. I had a couple hearing tests. I actually ended up failing my hearing test, completely bombing it. And so we come to find out that obviously I was completely, fully deaf. I obviously went to a surgical process to get my cochlear implant and just took a whole different turn of things in life. Cochlear implant, when I originally got the surgery, they go through procedural surgery and they give you a magnet, or they put a magnet inside your head. And so that's what allows us to see a cochlear implant to stick in my head. It gives me the ability to be able to hear like any other normal human being. That way I don't have to be doing sign language or anything. I'm able to communicate with the others and have a social life and just be a normal kid at that point. And right after I came out of that hospital, I was a little bit dizzy. I had this whole head package wrapped around my head. And my dad said, right when I came out, I looked right at the bus and my head just followed with the bus, and he could tell just from it that I was able to hear the bus coming by. And that wasn't something I usually did. It was the first time I picked up on the sound of a vehicle. I just had this smirk on my face where he could tell that something had changed. I was a huge football fan growing up. It was always my favorite sport. Being kid captain has definitely been a life-changing opportunity for me. It was something that not other kids have experienced, and it showed the hardships and the conflicts that you've dealt with in your life. You had to deal with going to the hospital constantly, getting sent to the ER and stuff. It's just at that point, it's really not the life of a little kid anymore. It's kind of just what makes you more mature, faster, dealing with all those conflicts. When I came to that hospital and I came out, I kind of realized that, things had changed in my life. And I kept coming back constantly over and over. I knew that I wasn't the person I used to be, meaning not just like with the cochlear implant and the hearing abilities, but I make, like I said, connections with a lot of the people, and I learned to expand my social life. The day of my game, they were going up against Northwestern. At the time, Iowa was number 2 in the country, I believe, so they were 9-0. Well, Iowa atmosphere was just absolutely ballistic. And I remember going up into that game, they gave me a kid captain jersey. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. It was pretty much, looked just like the Iowa uniforms. From there, they took me to the locker room, and I kind of just got to experience a ton on what it's like to walk out to the Back in Black song, kind of, and get their perspective on things. Eventually, the players came out to the song, and just kind of got goosebumps seeing the fans and everybody getting pumped up for them. They just took on the field, and they signed up for the national anthem. So I was a little bit shy, and my dad was telling me to get up there. So I eventually got up there. Benj was telling me to come up, so he grabbed my hand and pulled me in. And so I was standing right between Claiborne and Benz and Sash and Stanzi. And they all ended up playing in the NFL the next year. And it was just one of those experiences where you were just in so much shock at the time. You look back on it, and it's just like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When they introduced me, all the fans went crazy. I kind of had to do like a wave thing at the coin toss, and the fans were just still going crazy. I thought maybe they were cheering for something else, and I come to find out they were still cheering for Kelby, and my name's up on the Jumbotron. It was a life-changing moment, and it was something that kind of felt like you worked for at the time. When you have your cochlear implant and you're going through all those surgeries, you don't think about a whole lot of positive things, and you're kind of in a negative world. And it's really hard when you're stuck in the ER and stuff, and you got a lot of friends doing things. But when you come to that, it's kind of one of your moments where you just realize that everything you've done is for a reason, and you get to experience moments like this that not many people get, and it's well-deserved and earned. Football was my favorite sport. I didn't play it senior year, so senior year, just not being under the Friday night lights was a big eye-opener for me, and I realized that was a sport that I wanted to continue playing. I was repairing a chandelier in the kitchen and just completely shattered. Well, because I jumped back and went into the glass pile. I ended up cutting 6 of my 8 flexor tendons, my artery, and my nerve. They thought, there might be a chance I have to cut my arm off to my elbow. I didn't lose a whole lot. I still couldn't feel the left half of my palm. I can somewhat feel it. It's coming back. It's got like this tingling sensation to my fingertips, but it's not really fully 100% yet. Iowa still stayed with me, and it wasn't just football conversations they were having with me. They were asking, life conversation related questions. How are you doing? How's your wrist doing? That type of stuff, and that's not what a lot of the coaches were doing. So I think that's the reason why they kind of pulled me in, and it made me realize on top of that, with not playing under the Friday night lights, like I said, I realized that I still wanted to continue playing football. It's very important to me that I'm here, and they've changed my whole life with the cochlear implant. I didn't think that there was really any other place I could see myself going at that point, just because I was taking trips down here constantly from the ages 3 to 8 just to tune my cochlear implant and make sure I was hearing everything properly in class and practices, to have a social life, everything. And it changed my whole life. And when I first thought I was going to come here, I didn't really, like I said, see myself anywhere else, and that was just for the reason of the people and the connections that I've met here with the doctors. And it was more than just football at that point. It was people outside of the football world. My advice for kid captains or people that are staying in the hospital at the moment is to think in the future. Don't worry or get caught up with what's going on right now. There's a big picture in the long run. It makes you 10 times more unique with what you're dealing through right now. Being different is unique in my perspective. It's nothing you should be shy of. You should be proud of it.